The S&P 500 and the Nasdaq 100 go on an absolute tear. We have bad CPI data a day previously, and then obviously SPY and Qs just don't care. You bounce back. Tech has been really the David Goggins of the market. Who's going to carry the boats? David will, right? And you're just running and running and running. Now, we do have a little bit of data coming out tomorrow, but we also need to look at some of these bullet points from the technical point of view as well. Fundamentals, very important, but the technicals can give you a roadmap of how to trade that fundamental viewpoint as well. We also had a Fed member, Fed Goolsbee, talk heavy this morning as well around the market. We got some reaction there, but ultimately the price action today provided the best understanding of what's happening currently with our market and how to expect us going forward as far as crashes and issues that may arise over the next few weeks and days. Let's get to work. Now, first off, I wanted to start by going over the few things he did say or that caught my attention. Number one, he said that CPI data was puzzling and it's something that they are watching. No real insight. He also said it's unrealistic that if China had a recession, that there wouldn't be a risk of a recession here in the United States. So that scenario is a threat. It's actually completely random that he said this because no one really asked about China. So when we go back to the market again, we can see yesterday's lows to where you obviously find a bottom right before market close and you bounce. Well, since then, we've also seen that we're making higher lows nonstop and pushing back to the upside. That's on ES specifically. You go to Nasdaq, we saw some weakness, but still, you can still see what is happening here as we remove some of these levels. Again, just really quick for you, that was from the day trading today. But you can still see you're holding your key level. You're still making higher lows, a false breakdown, but you're still holding all in all very well. Even with that little wick there, it was really perfect with what's happening there, and you're pushing back into 17.9. Now, when we go look at data, and this is from our partners over at Edgeful, the link is down below. You get a 7-day free trial when you want to test them out. You can actually see the data that points to, Thursday's having the best close percentage except for Mondays on the past 52 weeks. There's a 60% chance that Thursday will end green. It's also worth mentioning when we go look at volume, because volume wasn't very interesting today, that volume typically upticks into Thursday and Friday. Again, very important to be viewing this because we've seen what happened from sellers. We saw the lackluster movement and overall follow through from sellers, but now it appears that, overall buyers are taking control still. Now, I won't say that you're dominant just yet, but again, as we look at the charts, these days typically favor buyers, right? Don't shoot the messenger, just sharing what I'm seeing and ultimately how the market's playing out. So again, we go back into what's happening here with futures. Again, what I want to see going into tomorrow, to be bullish, you want to see a break amount of 17.9. If you break amount 17.9, you are very bullish and you're probably going to start pushing back into roughly 18K, maybe even higher. So we go into ES, the S&P. Again, the level you want to get above is very clear and you really already did it at 5,000. But now you're just looking to get back above 50.29. That was a clear line in the sand. That was your previous high from 2021 as well. So you'll see a break and amount of that level. If you remain under this level, I wouldn't be trading to the upside. I'd be very cautious. If you break back below 5K, that would be a bearish instance and you'd be looking for a retest of lows potentially. So those are your key bullet points in what we're watching. Again, we don't want to jump the gun or get too aggressive in either sense of the word or either thing that we're looking at here as well. But one thing that we will cover is going into SPY and Qs. You can see SPY got back over that little bit of a level around 497, 498. You also mounted your level here at 496 as well, what we mentioned yesterday, right? You got the break, you got the retest, you clearly mounted here, all wicks below, breaking back to the upside. QQQ, go back into this level, you mount your 430, mount your 428. Again, same levels mentioned yesterday. The break, mount, continuation. Looking to get that gap fill as well as soon as possible. So that's what we're looking at there. Now, it's important to realize when we look at the broad market that we're not being biased. And I try to stay as unbiased as possible because the goal is always to make money in the market. That's my end of the day goal every single day. So when I look at what's happening here, I have to be able to acknowledge that number one, sellers are not showing any signs of continuation so far. Could that change? Yes. You also want to get a more Fed repetition to hear what and how they're digesting that news. I would be willing to bet that not all Fed members will say the same thing. Willing to bet money on that. And then, of course, hearing what Powell's statement is on that as well. You will have PPI coming out very soon. I believe that's on Friday. And we have more data tomorrow, which we'll cover here in a second. We also want to look at what's happening with the dollar and what's happening with yields because we saw the yields start to pull back as well. And then you have other metrics such as Bitcoin. You have IWM bouncing back as well, which point again to a risk-on environment. Again, even though CPI came out not so well, right? And we talked about this. We've had not great readings from CPI before. The Fed kind of negates them and the market says, well, this is fine. Let's keep on running. So it's important if you're day trading that you are vigilant of what's happened before and you understand that things aren't always as they may seem and that you're paying very close attention to what really matters. And that's the Fed's comments. So number one, we're going to go over DXY. DXY, you saw the big pump from obviously CPI. You shot up, bada bing, bada boom. Well, now you want to pull back. Okay, you've been showing weakness over the course of today and yesterday pre-market or after hours, right? Now we go into yields, the 30-year yield, which is my favorite. And again, yields are concerning. I'm not going to lie and say they are not. You are above your overall range and you're back above 2021 highs. Major pivot point, in my opinion. Now, what I will say, okay, if you break back into this, you're just back in the range and it's not really that big of a concern. While you're over this level, 4.426, I am concerned. But again, this is very important to watch over the next day and a half. We'll be closely watching this. This will definitely affect home sales over the next few weeks as well. So again, keep it on your chart. So those are the two things I'm looking at when it comes to what's happening, with bonds, the dollar, etc. Now, the next thing I want to hop into is what's happening here on the calendar. Now, tomorrow we have some news coming out. Now, again, 7:30, this is 8:30 Central. Or no, that's 8:30 Eastern, so it's an hour before market open coming out. You have core retail sales, jobless claims, which I think will be the most important, and then Philly manufacturing. Those are going to be your biggest things coming out in the morning. Now, again, my personal opinion, jobless claims will be the most important, and you have some Fed members talking as well. Okay, Bostic, and then you have Waller as well during the actual trading session. That's what I'll be watching. I don't care about bill auctions whatsoever. Personally, do not care about those. So that's what you're watching there on the broad market. And I will say one more thing. You do have Coinbase earnings coming out tomorrow. Definitely a top watch. I've been saying over 132, it's a buy. You're currently at 160 plus. So definitely keep them on the top of your watch list as well. Now, again, we're going to go over equities and what we're looking at there. Now, it's really important that you look and listen to what we're saying about these levels. Because again, some people get confused. Some people don't know exactly what we mean. Now, I'm going to highlight how I talk about every single stock. I mentioned key levels that I'm watching and I want to see the reaction of those levels. So let's say hypothetically I'm looking at Apple, right? And Apple's pushing to 200. Well, my key level might be 200. So what I'm looking for is a break of 200, then a retest, and hopefully getting continuation. That's how I trade essentially everything. The same thing for the downside. Let's say I'm waiting for a 190 break. I'm looking for a key level break of 190 to the downside, a retest of it, and then continuation again in that direction. Now, this all also depends on what's happening with the indexes, i.e. the Nasdaq, the S&P 500. I want to trade in the overall trend and what's happening there. So it's very important that we understand, we pay attention to the first levels that I mentioned in the first part of the video, because if you don't pay attention to that, then you're not going to understand and really have a plan when it comes to some of these other stocks that we're mentioning as well. And I go over all this in depth, so hopefully it can impact you to, encourage you to develop a plan, a strategy every single day here in the market, because I guarantee you your success rate will increase over time significantly if you develop a plan, you journal, and you kind of just take notes over why you're losing, what's working, and you hone it, you harness what's really bringing you success. You can hone in specifically on those things. Just a word of advice, what I'd be looking at, not financial advice, but always do your own research and DD. Now, first things first, we're going to go over Apple. Let's just run down the list. Now, Apple, again, we talked about the 200 SMA. You came right down to it. You got kind of back above, and then after hours, you're dropping down. Warren Buffett sold a shit ton of shares, so that is definitely concerning. You're still kind of making these higher lows right now. I'd be looking for a break of like 180, 179. That breaks, you have a lot of concerns there. Amazon, one of my favorite names. You had a really decent close on the day. When we go to something like the 15-minute, you can see, again, you can't go long on Amazon until you mount above 171. You did it right here. You went bananas to 175. So if you get that action tomorrow, you mount over 171. I do like the longs into 175, maybe even 180 if momentum does ensue. If you're below this and you hold below and you get rejected, so again, you start, just overall ranging, chopping in this range, and you reject, push down, that's a short opportunity with tight stops above as well. Makes sense. It's been a lot of winning opportunities there as well. Going to AMD. Now this was a gimme. What have I been saying? Your level is 174.6 over and over and over and over. And again, if you want to see exactly how and what we're doing, we have Discord. It's not available right now. The spots are totally sold out. But again, I do want to highlight one really quick thing, because again, I take the same trades that I mention here almost every day, except we just talk about what's happening there. So Jay signaled this one right when you got back above AMD right there. AMD above the key level, NQ's looking bizarre, but you're watching for the break and hold to push into 180. Well, what happened? Boom, bazinga, whatever you want to say, you went ripping. So again, want to highlight broke, retest, continuation, gimme, 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 free money. Microsoft, next up, again, you're looking what's happening at 407. You had multiple levels. Jay ended up entering down here around 405, pretty aggressive, but you're making higher lows. You broke through 407, you pushed into 410. Again, all the same levels we mentioned yesterday as well. Easy money sniper. Now, Tesla came out that Elon Musk actually ended up buying a shit ton of shares, and he owns 20% of Tesla once again. Again, Tesla, the same plan remains. Can you break back above 194? You break above 194, you retest, and you get continuation. Yes, guess what? Tyler will be going long. But until then, I will not be doing anything on Tesla while you're trading in the giant box of doom. It will not be exciting, interesting, or worth my time while you're in that box. But again, I like what's happening. You might get above 194 and your boy will be going long almost instantaneously. Going into NVIDIA, what is happening here? Again, all you're looking for right now, and this is actually probably one of the better looking charts right now. You have earnings into next week. I think next Wednesday. You're looking right here. Clear higher lows being established. Very, very easy to see. Very clear. It's not rocket science. Okay. Again, you're looking for a break above like 742. 745, this thing's going to keep running. Again, it's a monthly expiration and a lot of options are expiring in the money. Probably going to get another push up on NVIDIA if indexes can hold up. If you break down, I would not be looking to short this name, personal opinion. If you go watch Friday's video, I said down here, you break highs, you're probably running into 800. You broke 745, you ran into 800 instantly, and now you're just going off like on a tangent here on SMCI. All you want to see is a break retest. If you're lucky enough to get the retest, that's your long opportunity. Options are super expensive at SMCI, so do whatever you want. I will have no part of that. Meta, same thing here. Again, all of our levels, bullish, bearish, doesn't matter. You come back into our level around 469, you break, you retest. Again, it's what we always say, break, retest, continuation into target again, 473. You're welcome. Hit target again. You get below 469, you're bearish, back to the downside. Same trade on repeat over and over and over. Again, there's no reason to complicate anything that we're talking about here. Those are all the names I'm liking. Last one's going to be Netflix. You had a really good close at the end of the day. I would be watching Netflix for some extreme volatility. On the 4-hour chart, we talked about what's happening here. You broke to the upside. You broke above your key level of 475.76. I do think Netflix could run to 600 with continuation from the indexes as well. It's a must watch now. Above 580, you are incredibly, incredibly, incredibly bullish. It's the last name on the chart. Definitely keep all your eyes on it. Love what's happening here. These are the stocks I'm watching. If you have questions, comment down below. See you tomorrow.